The mantra for Venus is Om Hrim. Is one of the mantras. Om Hrim Shukraya Namaha. So you can chant that 108 times on Friday, Venus's day, and have a good party day. Good day for relationships. All things Venus related, which we're going to get into. So yeah, first thing we think of when we think of Venus is relationships. Any kind of one-on-one interaction with people. And we also think of Venus with arts and creativity. So it's all these things. And also with emotions. It's like our Venus in somebody's chart is their style of emotional energy. So if you have Venus in Virgo, where it's debilitated, you're going to be more Virgonian, like analytical, picking apart emotions, picking apart pleasure. So that's what Venus will show. And so Venus rules the signs Taurus and Libra. And so to get even more information about what Venus is about, it's about food, comfort, material wealth, prosperity. And Libra, it's about harmony and relationships and that design, aesthetic quality that we have. And so does that make sense? People understand Venus. And so why did I say Lord Shukra? It's a man. Well, Venus is quintessentially the feminine energy. But all the planets, Sun and Moon, Rahu and Ketu, are all masculine in the Vedic mythology. And all the stars, all the constellations, ultimately are this feminine. Like they all have the Shakti, or that feminine energy. So it's the interaction of the male active planets and the fixed feminine Shakti. So that's one reasoning.
So like Taurus and Libra are feminine. Is that what you're saying? When you say the stars are
well, I'm saying all the planets are masculine. So Moon, Lord Chandra, is masculine. And even though it's the quintessential feminine energy and it represents your mom, it's still in Vedic mythology considered masculine.
Okay.
And Taurus is the feminine aspect of Venus, and Libra is the masculine aspect of Venus. And each of the 5 planets, Saturn has a masculine and feminine energy, each of them, and they're expressed through the signs. Yeah. And the Sun and Moon rule only one constellation because the Sun is quintessential masculine, and the Moon's quintessential feminine. Right. Yeah. So, Taurus is more of that feminine Venusian energy where it's like, food, just feeling comfortable and pleasurable and all the sensuality. And then Libra is more the masculine where we're like relating to somebody. It's there's this kind of active dynamic with it. Okay, so Venus retrograde typically happens when it gets closer to the Earth. And so right now, where Venus is about right here, and it's getting closer and closer to the Earth. And therefore it slows down and looks like it's going backwards in the sky. But it's, the planets never actually go backwards, but it's only from our perspective that they go retrograde. So when they get closer, they slow down and look like they're going backwards. And when they get closer, then therefore they get brighter. They're closer to us, the light gets brighter. Therefore that planet's energy is more intense. So it's the retrograde planets are stronger. But it's not an external kind of strength. It's retrograde planets are more of this like internalizing kind of strength. Like we kind of introvert the planet's energy more. And so like Rahu In K2, the north and south node, they go backwards in the sky, and always. And all the planets, except for when they go retrograde, are going forward. And so Rahu and Ketu show in our charts where we're obsessing over things. So anything that goes backwards has that kind of introverted, internalizing, obsessing quality. So Mercury retrograde, it's kind of maybe like a myth, and that's like, oh, it's the time when everything goes haywire. It's actually just the communication into intellect is overflowing and internalizing. So maybe people are, kind of overly communicating something, or they're like obsessing over their communication more, and so they don't communicate as well. So it's really not from things going backwards, so to speak. It's so. Does that make sense? Cool. So Venus retrograde emotions. So we have these. The Venus energy the emotional energy is overflowing. So we can kind of obsess a little bit more and look deeper at our emotions. And so that's one of the things that it does. And also, it's a time to kind of look at our, the other indication of Venus is the artistic and creative. So it's a time to kind of review and go over, yeah. Oh, it looked like you were racing.
Oh, no.
You're all... You're all like, yeah, racing, exactly. Yeah. Enthusiastic student. So yeah, reviewing, refining, perfecting your creative projects. It's another good thing for Venus retrograde. And also with relationships, like wanting to go deeper into relationships. And so this is why it could be problematic for people, because with the Venus retrograde, we're going to be obsessing more over our relationships ultimately, and we're going to be wanting more from them. And so a healthy way would be like, oh, let's symbolically go to therapy in our relationship, to kind of go deeper and to work out the kinks, do it productively rather than kind of like projecting things and it gets all weird and messy. So yeah, wanting more out of the relationship, like no matter how good it is, maybe during a Venus retrograde, they're going to, want more. And also, Venus retrograde is a good time to kind of go over again your past emotions. So a lot of times past romantic partners can come in to kind of reassess and heal those old emotional traumas or wounds. So this is funny. So yeah, like you maybe you're like obsessing more about that one that got away, That's just funny. Yeah. Oh, Bernie, we miss you. Yeah. Okay, so what's really unique about this Venus retrograde is that it's happening in Pisces. Now, Pisces is the where Venus, it's opposite Virgo. It's where Venus gets exalted, like the best place that it can be. And so, and Venus in Pisces is this energy of infinity. Anybody else know what Pisces is? Like what's their understanding of Pisces?
Or some fish or something.
Enlightenment.
Fish. Yeah. Yeah, it's flowing, right, in the water. Huh?
Experienced. It's the last
Right. Zodiac. Yeah. So it's ultimately like an enlightenment. It's like the very end of the whole cycle. of all 360 degrees of the constellations. And so, this is really telling, like, why would this planet of pleasure and relationships get exalted in enlightenment? Because in Pisces, because they're two opposite directions. Like, relationship kind of keep us on the earth more, and we're like looking outside of ourselves, and it's really not looking in our own individual areas, like enlightenment in ourself. And so, kind of like, well, I'll talk more before I get to the punchline. So, why is it exalted in enlightenment? Why is relationships exalted? So we'll get to that. So what's unique about the Venus retrograde here is that if we're going to be going deeper into our emotions and wanting more, and Pisces is this big, like, pie in the sky, like, kind of soulmate. We're looking for God or goddess, divine, in relationships. And so it could be kind of tricky because it's so far out of reach. We're like looking for this fantasy, in a relationship. Just this unrealistic thing, right?
Yeah, I really want some naked guy to stand behind me and rub his junk on my shoulders.
Totally. She's digging it. She's like, oh, Fabio. Oh.
Is that Fabio?
Totally. Yeah, that is so Fabio. Yeah. 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 So.
She's enjoying herself.
Yeah, she's. Yeah, I know. She's digging it. Maybe, I don't know. You could do all sorts of captions with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Question. So with this retrograde in Pisces, and you say it's exalted, this is a pretty rare occurrence in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Because Venus only goes retrograde like once every 2 years, about. Yeah. So, yeah, it'll. It's a rare. Doesn't happen all the time. So the answer is, the punchline. Why is Venus exalted in Pisces? Is because it's showing us that we're never going to find enlightenment through something outside of us, right? So Venus, true understanding, is this bhakti. We're in the Krishna temple. It's perfect. That looking for God through God rather than the other person. So if you're going to try to get it through somebody else, then that is just going to be suffering. If you want to find your connection, find the soulmate, find your Fabio, and that's going to be your Lord and Savior, that's just going to be a recipe for suffering, So it's showing the closest way is through that devotion and that divine love that we find within ourselves through our own relationship to the divine. So that's the best thing to do for this Venus retrograde cycle, is to cultivate that bhakti, that devotion to the divine within yourself. And don't project it onto somebody else. Like, hey, you're not giving me this God that I want, It's not their problem. It's your own trip, And this is where most of the world is trying to get it from outside of themselves. And it's very rare to understand this concept in our culture, at least. So, and then the other part of Venus and Pisces retrograde is wanting to just like check out, like to leave the mind and, kind of like disassociate, to kind of just like zone out, just like watch movies all the time, and just because you want to go off into that fantasy place, So nothing wrong with it, but it might kind of be a waste of brain power, maybe. I don't know.
Distraction.
Yeah, it depends on what your goals are. Yeah, so be a spaced out kitty. Just watching the screens. And another great way is to channel it through art, of course, because then you actually, through your artistic expression, can connect to that divine place and kind of like bring it down and express it to the world. So really, doing your music, doing your dance, all artistic expression is going to be the way to really channel this energy properly. And then that's also an internal alchemistic process as well. Cool. So now there might be a little bit more kind of intensity around these things of looking for more in relationships and within ourselves when Venus goes like right in front of the sun, where we can't see it anymore. And so it's like that Venus energy, it's no longer reflecting the light of the sun. We can't see it anymore in the sky. So it's like those Venus qualities are even more going to be out of touch and out of reach. So look around, it's exact March 25th, but 3 days before, 3 days after, that kind of like 5, 6, 7 day period is when we would be tripping more on.
It's that festival of colors in Spanish.
Oh, perfect. So, give great people a great way to like really reach for that.
The fact that it's in Pisces, is it more of a protective nature than if it were not exalted?
What do you mean by protective?
Protective, like, well, I mean, just protective of the retrograde, just the kind of moving backwards or the frustrations and romance, and
right?
Whatever.
I don't know. It might make it more extreme.
Yeah.
It might make people want to like overdose on drugs. That much more. You know what I mean?
Especially if it's a fourth place Venus.
Yeah, it's just like when planets are stronger, they're stronger for what? For good or for bad? Strength doesn't mean that it's a positive thing. Or exalted. Exalted for what? For being a great drug addict. Venus and Pisces. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or being a great space kitty. Yeah. Okay. So let's just, we've been sitting for a while, so let's do a little bit of yoga, and then we'll get into the charts of the first 3 people that signed up. Woohoo! Things to do for the Venus retrograde, like I said, the bhakti yoga, so chanting, devotional, singing is the best, so you can get down tonight at the Krishna temple. Yeah. Chill out and get creative. That's the other way. So whatever creative outlet you have, doesn't matter what, you can consider yourself not artistic. Even if you're doing an office job, you're still creative. We're all creating something in some way. We have that creative energy. So kind of like get busy, is another way. So yeah, the Venus mantra, like we did in the beginning, the Om Hrim Shukraya Namaha. And this is Venus lock. It's like 2 people coming together in that embrace. So that's something else you can do. You can sit with the Venus lock at your heart center. Do 108 times Om Hrim Shukraya Namaha. Like that.
Keep track.
Huh?
Keep track that you did 108 times.
Yeah. Well, you can do your mala. It has 108 beads on it. That's probably the best way if you're in Venus lock. Or you can do have a recording that's chanting it. So you'd have to like make one. It's complicated, but I count on my fingers. I do like 9, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I do that 12 times. It's just you can just come up with your own way. But it doesn't have to be exactly 108. The point is just do it around 100 times. But 108 is auspicious. But they're just trying to get you to be like, Do it about 100 times. Yeah. And then here's like asana level Venus yoga, anything that's going to open the heart. And so I'll send you guys these slides if you give me your email. But this is a great one for connecting, for the Kundalini yoga way to connect to that divine, the divinity within, which is just the Om Namo Gurudev Namo mantra, a variation of it, and chanting it 3 to 5 times in one breath. And it's at the heart center, so it's connecting to the divine within yourself. It's like Om Namo Gurudev Namo Gurudev Namo Gurudeva, chanting that 3 or 5 times. And that would be really powerful to do. And then for channeling creativity, and one of the bedrocks of Kundalini Yoga is Sat Kriya, which we might do today. And because it's getting the lower, creative energies, and the lower it goes, the harder it is to control, as far as like the chakra energy. So it it's easier if you can balance it and bring it all the way up. So if you're feeling an excess of that creative emotional energy, the Sat Kriya can really help channel it. And has anybody done Sat Kriya before? Yeah. Yeah. It's been my favorite one. I get bragging rights. I did it 31 minutes for a year every day. Yeah. And you just sit on your knees and hands together, and you go Sut, and you pull in the navel and the sex organs, and then relax and say Nam, like that. But I hurt my knees, so you sit down on your your knees like that, and you just chant Sut, Nam, and that'll totally channel your creative energy like nothing else. So that's a good one. And then the Kriya that we just did, or this one's really great for opening the heart center. It's Satkartar, which means truth in action. And you're doing it, you're like opening the heart, and you just go Satkartar, like that. So you're just like expanding your energy from the heart.
What did you say that Satkartar means?
Sat, truth. Kartar means like action, ultimately. So it's truth action from the heart is what this one does. And then one of the best ones, which is similar to what we just did, Kirtan Kriya, using the Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, doing that. But you do it out loud for, if you do it for 31 minutes, you do it out loud for 5 minutes, then you whisper Sa, Ta, Na, Ma for 5 minutes, then you do it silent for 11 minutes, then back to whisper, then back out loud. And that just like this out loud is more, it gets more subtle and goes deeper into your unconscious, subconscious mind and pulls out all the junk from all the past, everything, relationships, parents, people. And I did this one for a number of times, one time for like 31 minutes for 120 days. And it's again clearing your arc line and clearing all the past relationships that you've had. So it just kind of resets everything with the like past, Venus problems, relationship stuff. So that one is really one of the bedrocks as well of Kundalini Yoga. And it does way more other amazing things besides just helping out with relationships. Balances the 5 elements of your mind and brain. Just generally clears out the subconscious garbage. Really good stuff. And then this is another one that's really powerful for clearing the arc line. You actually just like imagine water. The mantra is just like Waheguru, and you flick it over your arc line. So you're like washing yourself with the aura, and you just go Waheguru, 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 Wahegyo, and do that mantra. But you do it in the kind of the rhythm of this certain recording. It's like Waheguru, 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 Wahegyo, like that. And that one's really powerful. Kind of does the same thing. And then if you're having lots of problems, this one, this one is incredible as well for, healing those like past emotional traumas. It doesn't even have to be connected to relationship. It can happen for any kind of emotional thing that's been really impactful in your life. This can help clear it and come to balance with it. And then one of the best ones in Kundalini Yoga for attracting that divine man in your life, like all the women eventually that are single end up doing this. So Purik, by the best version is by Niranjankar, and it's this really beautiful verse that basically helps attract and bring a man of God into your life. And if you already have a man, then it helps turn him more into a man of God. And if you're a man, then it helps you become a man of God. So, and this is like the go-to one for all those like people that just, I want my soulmate, and well, this is what you got to do. And they have it playing 24 hours a day in their home, silently. It's just a constant prayer. And it's really powerful and it's beautiful. So you can find that. Just type in Sopurik by Niranjankar and you can get it. I think they recorded her chanting it when she was 16 and she was classically trained since she was like probably in the womb, like literally. And they didn't let her release any CDs or anything, and just wanted to keep her like really pure and everything. But they recorded this one mantra of her chanting it when she was 16. It's just like the devotion and the purity of the recording is just ridiculous. So